Hello everyone, this video is about the massive slew of Psyops that I've experienced and that anyone who wants to question things in reality and expand their consciousness genuinely, yeah, like they're everywhere and they're so deep and they go so far. I just want to say at the beginning of this video, I'm a fan of David Icke. He helped me a lot to see more, but I already saw so much before I read his book and really started listening to him. But as a person, the things that he says, the information he gives is so damn accurate in so many ways. Like he says, I'm going to say the same thing. Question everything, even me, do your own research, and try. And that's the hard part, is that this awakening subject is so convoluted and so unknown in this world for a reason that it's hard to gain information from many sources when it's all being ridiculously censored. It goes so like I'm surprised, but I'm not. It's amazing. So there are many of them. Psyops come from many directions, and I'm gonna come from a few different directions here. I want to first point out something very first level that you may have noticed already. Machines are doing things just more than ever to break your vibes or prevent you from... Right before I started making this video, my computer started glitching, for example. Hardcore, like it doesn't usually glitch. You see, this is a simple surface level thing that machines do. They'll glitch on you at certain times right when you're about to, but it doesn't mean they do it every time. It's really weird, because if you persist and you persist and you persist, you will find the information that you want. And if you're really honest with yourself, like really honest, like uncomfortably honest, like I don't care about what anyone else says or thinks about me, I'm gonna figure out the truth for myself, kind of honest, is what it requires. So, there are other parts of the Psyop that I want to get into, and I want to cite Mr. Richard Grannon. He's a psychologist. He's a narcissism specialist on YouTube, but he has a few videos that he veers off of his usual subject, and he has one video that's all you can just YouTube, Law of Attraction, Richard Grannon, and you can get his take on these kinds of things. But I experienced a lot of these psyops, by my own experience, by my own interpretation of reality. But of course it helps when you find relevant information to what you're trying to figure out. So, one of the biggest psyops in spirituality that's still going on today, that's just insane, is the law of attraction. That one is literally meant, the way that it's been propagated in the spiritual community, because unfortunately the spiritual community plus the Western world that it is manifesting in, it's like water and oil. Spirituality and Western culture do not fucking mix together, smoothly. So, part of the lies that we're told is that you have to be, completely healed. You have to heal yourself psychologically, and then you're going to start attracting everything that you desire. That's not how it works. I'm not saying that people don't attract things, and that, certain parts of their consciousness is not taking place in some kind of manifestation. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that things like The Secret, if you remember that book, things like, it's not about, fulfilling narcissistic desires. things that come to you are synchronicities. Sometimes those are false. Sometimes they're real. See David Icke, you know, he explains the real difference. But you'll know the difference. You'll know the truth when you're honest with yourself. A lot. So many. And I've been lied to about that. I've been meditating for like 15 years. And I started following certain people who had philosophies, and they said you'll attract all that you desire. And that's just not how it works. Now, healing is one thing. Psychological healing is one thing. That's something I did. I grieved, and then, I grieved for the first time in my life at the age of 30. I healed a lot. I changed profoundly. And after that happened, I became psychic. I started seeing the world differently. And I slowly began to figure out that it's a simulation matrix. That's what happened with me. But then I started subscribing to the spiritual world's idea that if you heal yourself enough, you will suddenly become a magnet for everything that you desire. This is part of the Psyop, and the reason why it's part of the Psyop is because you don't need money to be awakened or enlightened. You don't need things of the earth that you desire to be awakened or enlightened. If you can somehow are either lucky and those things come into your life, that's great, or if you work hard to build something in this world, that's a different story, and that's the reality. If you want money or whatever, you either have to work your ass off and be smart with money if you want to do that, or some people get lucky, and I think that's just the way it is. But it doesn't mean that things don't come to you for no reason. And synchronicity is real, but I highly, highly recommend that you remain, using your discernment, and that you at least question things, not to condemn them, but you have to question so many things all the time. It's a big part of what I want to say. Because the spiritual people who are trying to awaken, they're going, I've done this psychology work, and, I kind of have an idea of intergenerational trauma. I kind of understand that my unconscious, I received maybe abuse from somewhere in childhood, maybe my parents, and that my unconscious has become, programmed to perceive life in a certain way and only see certain possibilities. And so that's one thing that you should try to tackle at some point in your life, right? But once you understand that, for me, once I grieved and I started becoming psychic, that was enough for me to know, okay, I really made some progress for myself here psychologically, but I'm healed, I'm more awakened than ever, and I'm not attracting $1 million. I'm attracting enough I'm attracting the amount of money that I want to work for. You know what I mean? It's like, how much money do I really want? How much money do I really need? Especially now when the world is in such a state of flux. And look, if you're maintaining your money, good for you. That is good for you, because everyone has it. Also, not everyone is the same. Not everyone is going to awaken in the same way. I just want to point out that there's a big, massive psyop that was intentionally put into the spiritual community to make people think that if they aren't attracting everything that they desire, what is that? That's capitalism. That's Western culture. That is, if you don't get what you want, there must be something wrong with you. Not if you don't get what you need, but if you don't get what you want. If you aren't living a decadent life, then there must be something wrong with you. And this is hardcore truth right there, right here, for people who want to hear it, because it's hard. Because I've bought books by people who told me I need to be attracting everything that I want all the time. But to be honest with you, what I really want is the truth. To be honest with you, what I really want is the ability to awaken and escape from this matrix so that I'm not reincarnated here to be tortured all over again. Because that's a whole other subject, almost for a whole other video. But I'd like to get into that part in this video as well. But this is a really, really big part of the psyop. And I've had some revelations on this recently. I've been asking myself, how does humanity overcome its struggle? Do we all need to awaken at the same time? And I've realized the answer to that question is no. Because we are all, even though we're all unique individuals on the small scale, as far as avatars go, in the higher dimensions, we are all one single consciousness. So, I've heard a great analogy from another YouTube channel called We Immortals. That's the name of the channel. It's got some great videos. And I realized that it's like an ocean wave. The whole wave doesn't have to be cresting all at the same time. The wave can be cresting at one side and troughing at the other. So that means that humanity, all of humanity, doesn't all have to awaken all at the same time. That's not exactly how it works. I think what I really think is happening on a higher perspective is that the human mind itself is a creation of the Matrix. It's a construct. The human mind itself is a construct that the Matrix created, and it has a locomotion, it has an energetic charge. Because yes, the universe is mostly electricity. Just ask Nikola Tesla. But it's mostly electricity. And so what's happening is that all of humanity, the human mind, is awakening. The collective human mind is awakening. The more it awakens, the more corruption gets exposed. And this is where I've learned so much, because it's a big thing. All this corruption that's coming out in the world, because this earth was created by a demonic, evil entity. So that's how it's going to be. And so I kind of hypothesize here that once it's so obvious to anyone who wants to look like how false this world is, I kind of hypothesize that the human mind that has gained so much momentum, that has gone on way too long, the human mind should have slowed down already, but it's like its own entity in its own right in the universe right now, just like a monster just, going on and on. So once it's so obvious to us who are awakening and the human race that it's corrupt, the mind will have no choice but to admit its own fallacy as far as its own perception. And so what that's going to do is it certainly can undo reality itself. And part of that is the death of the human mind, death of the earthbound human ego. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to humanity after that. I don't know if that means that humanity itself dies, but for me personally, I'm ready for death, I'm preparing myself for death, because I know that death is an illusion, and that after I die, I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep going. So why be afraid of it, especially now when it's like the funeral's being prepared. What's humanity going to do? Tell me, what can we do? We can't even keep our children safe from pedophiles. I know that's dark, but it's the truth. We're in a bad position, but again, this is a perception war. So now I want to talk about escaping the Matrix, leaving this Matrix upon death. And I think that there are many ways of doing this, and everybody's different. But to me, it's being aware. And by being aware, I mean, I recommend following David Icke because he explains so much. But it's being aware of this simulation, that it is false, and that even after you die, it's still false. I would also like to cite Isabella Green here. Her last name is spelled Greene. Isabella is spelled how it's usually spelled. She has a channel on YouTube. She has a whole other take on escaping the Matrix than I do. She recommends cosmic cobra breath. That's its own thing. But she talks about all of this, what happens after you die, and how you get lied to even after you die, so that they can make you reincarnate back on Earth, but they erased your mind, so therefore any lessons you're here to learn to evolve are irrelevant when you can't remember what happened in the last life. Most likely when you die, you will be greeted by somebody that looks like whatever you believe in. If you believe in Jesus, you're going to be met by Jesus, but it won't be Jesus. It will be an archon entity who has yes, even after you die, you're still in the simulation, is the thing. But there's a way to leave. Understanding how it works. Understanding that they're going to use lies and all of your emotional weaknesses against you. Because even if you're an atheist, when you die, you'll be greeted on the other side by a family member or your favorite musician. These are all illusions. None of them are real. The only thing you should trust or, gravitate towards is source consciousness itself. The void. The 13th dimension. Those are the most important aspects of leaving the Matrix. And the more you understand this stuff and you're aware that you can be lied to even after you die, once you know this and once you keep expanding your consciousness and basically live a life that is basically a philosophical paradox, once you start doing those things, your consciousness will expand and you will be able to leave the Matrix when you die. And it really is an understanding. So, like I said, Isabella Green talks about the cosmic cobra breath, where you can literally leave your body before you die and see what it's like out there. And, it's important that you do what is called quantum travel and you straight up go, to the void. But, it's not the only way. David Icke daydreams. That's what he does. He doesn't even meditate. He just daydreams. And the reason why daydreaming works is because it literally disengages you from the human mind. Because anytime you're out in the world, or even, or even inside, but really it's more so outside in the world, the human mind is at work. It's like an electric charge that just keeps going. And when you daydream, you're basically dropping all of the Western culture conditioning to stay focused in a certain way on things around you that really don't matter, especially when you consider that this is the apocalypse. This is a big shift that's happening in the world. So really nothing does matter. So this is just my interpretation. Daydreaming is a great way to, in your waking life, not just when you want to meditate, but if you're in your waking life and you feel all this stuff that you don't want to feel, you can put on your headphones and daydream even when you're around people, and there's nothing they can really do to break that. And you are altering your consciousness. You are shifting your state of consciousness when you do that. So, that, in a nutshell. Of course, there's always more to know. I certainly don't know everything. I don't know everything that's possible, and that's what got me to this level of understanding that I'm at today. So, all of what I'm talking about is totally gonna be shadow banned and totally not supposed to get out to the public. They're fighting everything. The deception goes so deep. So just remember that. And if you if you make just enough money to survive, that's fine. It's more important that you're in a peaceful state and that you have some joy, some true, authentic joy in your life. whatever it is. I've been playing guitar for 25 years, but even if I was an amateur painter who just started, as long as I was putting my heart and soul into creativity, it wouldn't matter how good I am. It's channeling creativity. You know? That's far more important, that you're in a state of joy, because you have no idea how much of a rebel you're being during these times when the world is so dark and messed up. For you to be in a state of joy, that's the renegade way. That's the true rebel way, is to be in a state of peace and joy when the world is the way it is. Because they want everyone terrified. They want everyone going, oh my God, I don't know what to do. How am I going to make it through? They want everyone freaking out. And a lot of people are, unfortunately. That's what they want. They want you to be angry. They want you to be frustrated. They want you to be in a terrible emotional state. And that's what helped me control my own reactions to what's going on in the world. When I realized I just channeled my anger into, look, whatever's pissing me off is way beyond the people around me. They don't know what the fuck's going on. Demons might use people here on Earth to piss me off, but those people have no fucking clue what they're doing. So I really shouldn't, or pissed off or depressed or whatever negative emotion they try to provoke out of you. So for me, a lot of it was anger, but if it's sadness, you can do the same thing. If it's whatever emotion, you can just say, look, I know. And so I know that I literally make demons cringe with my peace. That's how it works. Like, really, with joy and peace. It sends the archons and the demons, like, back to their, it doesn't mean that this matrix is what it is. It's going to keep being what it is until things shift energetically. But for you to accept that and be in a state of peace, well, you get to change your own perspective and your own emotional being, basically. So, yeah, remember that. The renegade way, is peace and joy. It doesn't mean you have to repress your emotions. That's not what I'm saying. I journal mine, I play guitar, and I calmly tell myself how I feel. So you don't want to repress your emotions, but you don't want to get lost in your emotional reactions, because that is where the demons start to take some, can affect your perceptions even more. So, I did the best job I could to share this information, and it's gonna get shadow banned, and I don't care, because if only 5 people watch this, guess what? I'm doing my job. I'm doing what brings me joy. So, salute to the archons. Alright, thank you for watching.